the response.
Speaking of the election, among the 17.2 million Australians who go to the polls on May 21, around 1.6 million will be aged between 18 and 24 years old. Collectively, they have the power to sway the election, but when it comes to the choices in front of them, they're a bit meh.
No, we talked about this. It's meh.
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 Our group of Gen Z voters is aged between 19 and 23. During the pandemic, they missed out on jobs, study and travel opportunities. But unlike a lot of their peers, they are all enrolled to vote.
Who's actually excited about voting this election?
Excited in an anxious way. I'm excited for the prospect of change because I don't feel like the policy in the last however many years has reflected the needs of young people.
Like, in a 1 hour and 7 minute debate, 5 minutes was allocated to my age group of 18 to 20-year-olds on only the fact that 55% of us have actually enrolled at this current stage.
Look, it's hard to be excited, and I think it's because the election is just so far removed from the issues young people are facing.
But every day they're out there talking about wages growth, debt and deficit, national security, house prices, cost of living.
But what about our education systems? What about our employment systems? Even before we get to housing affordability, we have to make sure that we have job security, right? We have to make sure that we can go through an education system and feel like we have the skills that we need for the future. If we don't even have those things, how can we even expect to deal with the debt that we're going to have in the future?
Do you see, in your mind, a difference between Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese?
Anthony Albanese seems like a sort of a by-the-book politician, Scott Morrison, I think it's like a sense of embarrassment. The lesser evil is probably the way to describe this election for a lot of people, I think.
Do you have an instinct as to which one is the lesser evil?
Probably Anthony Albanese. He's, I don't know of too many scandals out there, and
give him time.
Probably doesn't get as much. Yes.
Let's talk about the economy. Who here thinks or is planning to buy their own home?
I mean, I guess it's an aspiration.
Okay.
In some sense.
Okay.
It just seems like a really far away prospect for me.
Do you think you could buy a house where you want?
I feel like a lot of people have to drive 3 hours away from where they live now to potentially get that future house that they've been aspiring towards.
It is something that I take with a healthy dose of cynicism, because you have to be under $1 million, I think it was 800,000 or something like that. And realistically, if we're going to buy a house in a place that we want, there's no way we're going to be able to get a first-home buyer's grant.
Barnaby Joyce says move to the bush. Would you do that?
Yeah, sure.
I guess so. I guess that's our choice, right? Because there's nothing else we can do.
But why is that? Tell me why that's such a terrible idea.
It's not a terrible idea, it's just not ideal.
And I think we talk a lot about first-time buyers, but I also just want to bring up as well rents. Like, rental is in itself a huge issue at the moment. I can barely afford to pay the rent. I'm in a house that's fairly old. It's it's on the cheaper end of what we were able to get as young people, and that's still $500 a week.
So when you hear Australia's now facing $1 trillion worth of debt, regardless of what you think of the principle of it, through your taxes, you are going to be paying that debt down. So I just wonder how much you've thought about that and what you think. I know you're nodding, David.
Yeah, I don't think it's a massive issue because, yeah, we've been servicing debt repayments for, I don't know, probably 100 years or more.
We don't dream anymore as a people because we are slapped a number, we go $1 trillion debt, be scared of this. You become scared of that and you vote based on that fear.
I think as well, looking at these candidates, the fact is they're just both older white men.
So why don't you go into politics? What's the turn-off for young women and politics?
Well, I feel like
I'm sorry, everyone saw all the sexual assault scandals and everything in Parliament about a year, right? We haven't forgotten about that.
But come on, Natalie, you're impressive, you've got views. Why wouldn't you go into politics?
I look at the major parties and I think about what role I might have as a young person in there, and I don't actually see my ability to make much change on a policy level there because of the trap of having to toe party line.
If we're going to get there, we're going to spend 10 years, 20 years trying to climb up the ranks. By the time we get there, we're just as disconnected to young people as the previous politicians were.
There does seem to be a particular perception about your generation of being a bit entitled, climate obsessed, and woke? They say you're woke.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think respecting other people's opinions and positions on things, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's not something I'm ashamed of.
Everything that we feel is not young person specific. There are environmentalists out there who are 50. There are people who are advocating for refugees who are 60, 70. Nothing about it is special to us.
We're going to have to leave it there. Happy voting. Enjoy your democracy sausages. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you just refer to them as sausages? Enjoy your democracy sausages.
Fairly entitled bunch of people, I would have thought there. I mean, look,
No.
I've got daughters exactly the same age, so I'm not. That conversation's not foreign to me at all. But they've got to realise that they are very lucky. They're a very lucky generation. They've grown up in a country that's safe, that's prosperous. I mean, they've probably got a pretty good chance of getting a job because they've had a free university
on a planet that's been
education.
torched and they will never own their own home. And
That's being far too cynical about the way we live in Australia now.
Who's had a free university education?
Well, they've got a HECS debt, so have my children, but
Well,
they'll pay
it's
that
not
off.
free.
But I mean, they talk like, you know,
Yours was free.
They talk like
Theirs
our
isn't free.
parents suddenly had everything given to them. My parents had to move 25k out of Adelaide to buy a house. They had to pay it off. They had to work hard to do it. I mean, I get really annoyed when we have these conversations that, oh, it's all bad for young people. It's not all bad for young people.
Isn't it a bit irresponsible, though, to leave a generation with this $1 trillion of debt? I mean, they're going to pay it down for the next decade or so of their working
They don't seem
life.
worried about it.
I think they are worried about it.
Yeah, I think what you took out of it, I didn't get that vibe
No.
from them. I think they're very being open-minded and pretty fair. I mean, there's challenges ahead. They're recognising that. I think that you're being a little bit defensive.
Well, why wouldn't I be a little bit defensive? And because everybody dumps on my generation, the baby boomers, and say, well, you had it easy. No, I didn't. I've worked 50 years
Three
without
were
having
on
a
the tape
day
when they
off.
said that you had it easy. I didn't see that bit.
Well, that's what they're suggesting, that it's all hard for them and not hard for anyone else.
No, I don't think that's what they're suggesting.
You did have it a lot
You
easier
did the
than this.
interview.
You did have it a lot easier, though, than this generation.
No, I didn't.
Though,
How?
you? Well, it was a lot cheaper to buy a house. You got a free university education.
I didn't go to university. That might not surprise you, but I didn't get a free education at uni because I didn't go there. And as far as buying a house, I mean, I had to save like anyone else. I've worked every day of my life since I was 17 years old.
But these kids are working hard.
So are they.
So
And they feel like they don't have the choices
they want
to
things
live where they want to live.
Things given
I
to them.
don't think they do.
They
I think
always want stuff given to them.
I don't think they do. What I took from it, because I do know the stats that a lot of people in that age group aren't voting, and I initially thought, well, is it apathy or what is it? And it feels like it's powerlessness.
It's compulsory to vote. It's illegal not to vote. You get fined.
Well, some of them are going to live with the fine. Some of them don't care because they feel so powerless.